Yeah, no, Luke thing was that was just came out of nowhere. No one was ready for that. He was a wonderful guy, a very thoughtful actor, terrific to work with, and again, I felt very privileged to be able to write for his character. And we said when he wanted to leave the show in season six, we just went out of our way to kind of write the best storyline we could for him, and we think we really did it. We had that great show where he gets married and his
Oh,
bride gets killed. I mean, it's just one of the most heartbreaking episodes in television, really.
Real Talk with Star Scorpio Season 9. It's an honor to welcome my guest today. Over 3 years ago, I started a Beverly Hills 90210 fan page, and it's been blowing up ever since. Over 5 million views in the last 30 days. One of the posts that really caught fire featured Ray Pruitt. In the clip, someone steps on stage and says, "Hey man, what are you doing?" One of my followers commented, "Hey, is that Larry Mollin as the roadie?" I'll admit, I was one of those fans who loved the show, but never paid attention to the credits. But today, I'm thrilled to speak with someone who played a major role behind the scenes as the executive producer and writer, helping bring some of 90210's most unforgettable moments to life. Larry Mullen, welcome to Real Talk with Star Scorpio. How you doing today?
Good, good. Nice to meet you.
Yes, you too. My name is Peter, by the way. I didn't mention that. I think you know that though,
I didn't know. Yeah, good to
but
see you, Peter.
yes. All right, Larry. With Real Talk, we like to build a timeline first. So take me back to your roots. Where did you grow up? How was your family life like? Was it tight knit, and did you have siblings?
I grew up outside of New York City, in the suburbs, kind of by the beach on Long Island, and I have a brother and a sister. Uh, I was never involved in show business as a high school kid. Didn't get anything involved in that. I went to Georgetown University School of Foreign Service to become a diplomat or a member of the CIA in 1964. I was a Russian major with Bill Clinton, part of my class, and by the second year. The Vietnam War was going pretty hard, and I just really didn't want to be part of the government. So I wound up hanging around the theater and kind of caught the bug a bit, and I started writing a bit too. And I wound up doing summer stock on Martha's Vineyard and just kind of fell in love with theater. And that just kind of lit my path. And I ended up in Canada, Toronto, Canada in 1970. I was passing through. There was a theater festival there, which I wound up acting and directing a play for. And I wound up saying, no, I'm just going to stay here.
Mhm.
And of course, you're there now, and you probably know the government there supports young artists. So I was able to, kind of make my $100 a week or whatever, and just concentrate on my craft and my 10,000 hours of impression apprenticeship, and just did everything. Toured all over the country, played every madhouse and prison and high school in Canada. And when I built up my skills, I left to go to Hollywood in 1978.
Nice. I like how you did that little synopsis summary of your life there. But take me back to school for a minute because one thing I like to know about my guest, like if you go back to the high school days, what did you excel in school? What were you drawn to? Was it the English, the math, or was it drama and science, something like that?
No, I was an athlete. I was a sprinter. I had set some records as a 100-yard dash runner and a relay guy, and I played basketball and football. And my dream was to become a basketball coach, basically. But
Oh.
I scored 800 in my Latin boards. So all of a sudden, that became a calling card to go to college, which was the School of Foreign Service at Georgetown was a very elite school. There were only 100 kids in each class, and so I kind of was on that path. And then it just, like I said, I just fell off and then wound up hanging around the theater and just becoming a show person.
Mhm. And you know what? I think I did see a picture of you surf. Were you surfing too? Were you a surfer?
Oh, I produced and wrote many surf shows, so I was always around the beach. I
Mhm.
boogie boarded. I never really surfed, but I certainly
Oh,
boogie boarded plenty.
oh.
That's what I did.
Nice, nice. I like that you had that. that background in track too. My cousin was actually in the Olympics, ran for Canada.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
Marita Payne. Yeah.
Yeah, I was running, even as a 70-year-old, I was at Santa Monica College track. I was considered the fastest 70-year-old on the West Coast anyway. But then I had a little bit of an accident. I kind of lost some nerves in my right leg, so I can't run anymore, but which kind of is a bummer, but maybe it's all right. I'm
Do
getting
you
pretty old.
do you still find a way to keep fit though at
Yes,
the
I
same
work
time?
out, 4 or 5 days a week in a gym, and, treadmills and weights and stuff. Yeah, I do.
Oh, good, good. How's your eating habits? I just got to ask about that because,
Good.
I'm 51 and then, I fell off, started eating a lot of junk, but I always worked out in my life. But the sugar thing is me, right? I got to eat the sweets and junk. But how was your eating habits from then
Well,
to
I mean,
now?
it's a fight against the sugar, the A1C thing. I've been pre-diabetic for years, but I've always managed to keep under the level there. And yeah, but, I try to eat well. I try to just cut down desserts as much as I can. I don't drink alcohol, so that's helpful.
Oh,
And yeah, I mean, I think I'm doing pretty good. I'm 79 years old almost. Be 79 in 2 weeks.
oh, you look, hey, what's your birthday? What date is it?
April 19th.
April 19th. Oh, my daughter's April 14th. Aries,
Oh,
that's
there
still,
you go. Okay.
yeah,
Well, Aries.
Aries.
Okay.
Okay, before we get into 90210, because that's my main thing, I want to know about that show. But tell me some of your writing credits because I believe you wrote for one of my favorite shows back in the days, Chips. Punch. Is that true?
Yes, I had when I moved to Hollywood in '78, I had a couple of shows I did before that, but I was always writing Chip's episode on the side, and I got to be part of it the last 2 seasons, and I think I wrote 6 episodes, but I was part of like probably 44, and yeah, it was a great show to write for. It was before computers, so it was so different.
Oh,
The movie making was so different then. Everything was typed, everything was edited on a flatbed. It was much slower and, kind of nice in a way. You kind of went in at 9, you left at 5. You thought about accidents all day, how I could wreck things in the car crashes and stuff, and what would be fun to wreck.
yeah.
And it was great. And I had a mentor there, Cy Shermack, who was executive producer, who really taught me the business a lot. I really learned a lot from Cy. He would arrive every day at work in a limousine. He was, really like a classic Hollywood producer,
Mm,
and he just died recently. God bless him.
mm.
But it was a great education doing that show. It was lovely. I really enjoyed it. I did all. When I moved to Hollywood, I was the first episodes I really had success with were all music based. I was kind of like the rock and roll writer. I did like the punk episode, the all girl band episode, the devil rock episode, the country rock episode. I might have missed one in there, something else. And I wrote the songs for them too, because my
Mm.
brother, my younger brother, was a music producer. It was always work. He was always music. I was always words. So we wrote a lot of songs together, and he had great success as a music producer. He lives in Nashville now.
Okay, nice to know. One thing I'd like to know too is you're mentioning these things about you going to Hollywood. It's probably at a young age, going to Toronto, doing all these things, music, sports. Your parents. So let me go back for a minute. Were they a good support to you and let you do these things, or were they strict?
Uh, my father was, when I left Georgetown, which I was a scholarship student there, he just was crushed. And then I moved to Canada. They were double crushed, and didn't really understand the theater thing at all. Uh, just didn't understand that we just wanted to be artists. We were just show people. We didn't care about money. We weren't chasing the dollar. We just wanted to be entertainers. We wanted to be show people.
Now, 90210. In the beginning, I hear names like Aaron Spelling, Darren Star. And now on my IG page, I'm documenting season 5. I want to know, when did you first become involved in 90210 and what season did you join? Or how did you become?
I After this, they made a decision to leave high school. They had to because the kids were getting older. And they were going to go to college. And you have to understand, no show had ever done that jump from high school to college. So there was a lot of pressure on it. They wanted to expand the demographic. And Chuck Rosen, who was executive producer, saw a script of mine called Borderline Normal. It was a spec script about children of divorce. And it actually got made in Saskatchewan in 2000 with Katerina Scorzoni from Grey's Anatomy and Robin Dunn. It's very good. It's on YouTube now. You can check it out. It's a fine script and fine movie. And Chuck liked it and hired me. and we became great writing buds together. And I worked with him for season 4 and season 5, and I took over for him after season 5.
Okay, nice.
And before that, I had been doing the season before that I had done Renegade, the first season of Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas, which is like a chopsocky action show, and I had never done anything like 90210, but I had two boys who were kind of young teens, and so I was aware of the show, and I felt I could give something to it.
Mm. One thing I want to know though, you coming in season 5, so they're in college, the college years, right? W- Do you have to watch season 1 to 4 to get an understanding of what's going on with the characters?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah, because it's a long oral saga. It's a show where the history of the characters is very important. The fans really know the show better than the writers. The writers better be sharp and not make up mistakes. So yes, I did really have to do my homework on that and understand it. Like a fast moving train, I had to really understand what had come before. So yes, I did.
Hmm. And since we're on that, character development, as we know, it's key and it's very important, especially when you're on the show over a number of years. How did you approach shaping that development of the characters as the show progressed?
You know, especially the male characters like Steve Sanders and Brandon Walsh. I just was drawing on my own experiences, and I think a lot of it was did. And we had lived a pretty good life there and had a lot of sense of what took place in relationships. And what was really important to us was an emotional reality. We wanted to slow play things, don't rush into things. We would have a sign in front of our writers room which said, "Kissing is good,"
Mm.
which meant don't go rushing too fast. Just slow the relationships down and keep it real. The other thing we did, which kept it real, was if the show was airing in October, it was about October. I mean, we were basically on the clock. We were on the calendar. So it really had a real feeling to it, as opposed to most soap operas. And we tried to keep that emotional reality. We tried to earn the moments. That's the other thing I was really big on. If you're going to have a big emotional moment, you better then lay the groundwork for it and really earn it. And I think that also help people really get connected with the characters, just keeping them real. Don't rush the storytelling. And then when I came in season 4, we also did 32 hours a year.
Wow.
Now the shows do 8.
Wow.
So just try to imagine that.
What a difference.
So that's a lot of storytelling. But
Mhm.
I had always been quick. I always been fast and always, never, to production wise, we never ever had a day where there wasn't shooting material. And, we were always on time with our scripts. But because of that, we had a lot of story to tell and we had a lot of characters. And so all the characters then really got filled out because we needed more story, basically. We needed more content. So that's how the characters developed because we had more time to spend with them.
Mhm. I like that. You got to take me back for a minute. I'm gonna ask a question about the kissing scene. I had this question, but since you brought it up, I'm gonna ask it. But what I want to know about you personally, were you an avid writer? Did you write a lot in school too, or even at home? Where did you hone that skill?
I did not write, like I said, I was basically involved with athletics all through
Hmm.
high school and college. I started writing poetry in college, and I was a published poet at a very early age. I had some success actually as a poet. The first things I got published were small magazines, and I had actually anthologized and a small chapbook out called "Which Way of the Egress," which is still available on Amazon, I think. Um, but no, I didn't. But I was a theater person, and part of that, my training in theater was developing collective creations with other actors. We create our own plays. And so I became a writer just by becoming an actor and a director. And then I wound up doing a CBC series called Homemade TV, which was based on my theater, and I had to write scripts for that. So I was writing for that, writing for specials. And by the time I left Canada, which was in 78, I had already written a couple of screenplays and, a lot of TV shows. And I was already considering myself a writer more than an actor, even though when I went to Hollywood, the first jobs I got were as an actor.
Mhm.
Luckily, I wasn't a very good actor, so I was a better writer. So just that took over.
I like that. Thanks for sharing that. And I gotta ask this kissing thing, but there's one thing to have words on paper, but to translate that to speech and someone actually getting those words and emotions out. Can you tell me a little bit about that
You
too?
know, I think a lot of it started because I really got involved in improvisation, uh, and what the roots of improvisation are. Like Viola Spolin was the godmother of improvisation. She came out of Chicago, and that's where Second City came out of. But in learning that and teaching improvisation to kids, we had a little school at our theater. I think that helped create dialogue because you understand what a scene is and how a scene begins and how a scene ends and how it can build but also conversational dialogue really became important. That was something that was very important to Chuck Rosen and Nanatuno, that the dialogue seemed conversational and it's just skill built on skill. I mean, just doing so much of it and writing so much, having an order like a 32 episodes for like 4 years is 128 episodes.
Wow.
That's like unheard of today. I mean, at 4 years, you do 30 episodes maybe. But then we were just writing, writing, writing. And by the end of it, I mean, it took a toll on people. I mean, Chuck had a heart attack. My other
Oh,
partner drowned. Another partner got cancer. Another partner got divorced. And I was the last man standing basically after season 7.
oh, wow. A lot of things, a lot of turmoil you went through.
Yeah.
Um, what did you, I gotta ask you this though. One thing I appreciated as a fan, and I think they did it twice, the summer seasons. So you're addicted to this show, and then it's like, oh my gosh, you get a spout of summer seasons. What did you think about that? Even though you weren't
Yeah, I
there
know.
at the
I was
time.
not involved in the summer season, so that
Yeah,
that happened between season 3 and 4,
yeah,
and 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. But that was a great play by Fox because they realized, it was a fledgling network. They realized that when they had original episodes, they did very well. And since everyone else was repeating in the summertime, because
yep.
shows then traditionally did 22 episodes,
Mhm.
and then they go on hiatus and rerun stuff. So Fox said, "Screw it, we're going to have original episodes in the summer," and that's how the show's popularity, like yourself, you picked up what was going on because they were fresh original episodes. And so that was a brilliant part of Fox's strategy, and that led to them also then ordering 32 because they realized the more original episodes they had, the better it would be for the show. The
Mhm.
question was, could we do it? And we did. We had to shoot 6 times during the season. We had to shoot 2 shows at the same time, if you can imagine.
Oh,
So you
okay.
have 2 shows boarded. Actors had to be on one set or the other set. It was really it took a lot of analytics, I guess, before we had to do the word to be able to coordinate that kind of thing, and also to have pages ready and be able to do it because it's also double casting, double shooting, double post production. It was quite a feat. We called them double ups, and it took a toll on everybody, but we all got paid per episode, so we liked it.
Oh, nice, nice. And the actors at the time. I want to get into some of the actors too in a minute, but the actors had to work a lot then too, and that was probably taxing on them.
Yes, we'd have some breakdowns, some health breakdowns for sure during the year. It was, you could count on it. Someone was not going to be able to show up, and yeah, it was hard. It was hard on everybody, but we were committed, and the show was so popular that, and this is before social media that it could really even drive it home. And we had to do it the hard way.
Yeah.
People had to wait and talk about it, and we get fan mail, which was that was how you got reaction.
Yeah, I remember that. Larry fan mail. Fan mail was crazy back in the day. You're actually opening a letter. Now you get email, you get messages, text messages.
Oh
I
yeah.
think 90210 would have been so different if social media was around. Like it would have
Oh my
been
God. Yeah.
skyrocketed
Maybe it's
popular.
better it didn't because we didn't, you didn't have so much influence. Because you tend to like listen to everybody.
Yeah.
We just listened to ourselves. We tried to be true to the characters, but we did know that the fans were out there watching. We better really do this right because they knew more than we did about these characters, and they really were invested in them. That's why we always knew that Don and David were eventually going to be. They were going to go the distance, and
Mhm,
we felt, this way. A lot of the, we even though we would have other characters in between, we always knew we were going to end up with Don and David.
mhm.
Same thing, I think, with Brandon and Kelly in a lot of ways. I always felt that was the royal couple. Though some people always like Dylan and Kelly better, but whatever.
But you know what I'm finding? I got to tell you, when I first watched the show, I wasn't a Brenda fan. Like I'm talking when I was in my 20s. I'm 51 now. And I got my daughter addicted to the show. She's
Huh.
27. She's 27 in April, as we were talking about. Your birthday's in April. And I got her addicted when she was young. I bought the box set. My wife and I, we made her watch the show, and now she follows
Ah,
me on my page. But I
Ah,
turned out to be more of a Brenda fan. And what I'm noticing on my page, there's so many Brenda fans, and that dynamic between Kelly and Brenda and Dylan, it was a crazy, crazy time.
you, Shannon was a wonderful actress who really connected with the audience, and the truth is, she was the most popular character on the show. I mean, even all the kids would acknowledge that. Her and Luke were the most popular characters, and they both have passed on now. But there was something really exciting about them together. I got to write a lot of the the Dylan Brenda stuff in season 4,
Mhm.
and it was just great. It was a great honor to be able, and great privilege to be able to write that. And I really felt it. I really believe that they were meant to be. And just Shannon had just a very interesting quality. She just, she was great, and she was tough because she had been an actress her whole life. So
Yeah,
as a person, she had some difficulties, coping with this and that. And sadly, when she got sick, is really when she distinguished herself, actually, and really became this whole other person, a really kind of kind, thoughtful, and wonderful person, and especially great to her fans. She gave it all the last couple of years. And so everyone loves Shannon, though during the working of it, she was hard. She would break down more, and and also she lived hard. Being a child actress, she really didn't have a firm grip of who she really was. She was who she
yeah.
was playing. I mean, we would write that she would get engaged, and she would get engaged in real life. I mean, it was always a crazy things like that would happen. But she was very talented in the sense that she had a photographic memory.
Are you
So
serious?
she could like be out all clubbing all night, come in the next morning and hit every line you said, wrote it just like you wrote it, never a problem. And that kind of drove everyone crazy, and especially because she was a little bit difficult on set, and
Mhm.
everyone had their sparks with her. And if you crossed her, she really would go at you. She could knew everyone's weakness, and it took a while for her to grow up, I think, and be beloved. But she's definitely beloved now. She's
Oh man,
just know that people
yeah,
just honor her every day.
yeah. Man, I did that tribute on my page too. I was actually gonna stop my page because it hurt me so much. Like I get so emotional still at this age about these things I grew up on, and Luke Perry was hard to hear from me too because I'm such a fan of the show. But when Shannon passed, I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. And then I just thought about the people that follow me, and there's some people that can't see the show, so they enjoy some of the posts I do, right? So I'm like, I gotta do it for the fans. But yeah,
Yeah, no, Luke thing that was just came out of nowhere. No one was ready for that. He was a wonderful guy, a very thoughtful actor, terrific to work with, and again, I felt very privileged to be able to write for his character. And we said when he wanted to leave the show in season 6, we just went out of our way to kind of write the best storyline we could for him, and we think we really did it. We had that great show where he gets married and his
oh,
bride gets killed. I mean, it's just one of the most heartbreaking episodes in television, really. And so that always felt right. I felt bad that he came back to the show later on. He just kind of got lost and needed some money. Just it happens. So
mhm.
he never should have come back. It just kind of diluted everything. But Luke was a great guy and just had a bad break. I mean, he was always a little bit sick, so it was not totally surprising.
Oh, really?
But it's just way too young. I think he was in his 50s when he died, and Shannon, obviously too.
Yeah,
Yeah, this year we've had a tough day, a tough year. We've lost a lot of people. It seems like I've got to try to remember them all, but we've
yeah.
Chancellor Arnold, Nick Pryor, Jed Allen, who played Steve Sanders' father. Rush Sanders died. Denise Dowse, who played
Miss Teasley, right?
Mrs. Teasley.
Yeah.
Uh,
Stuart Carson. What was
Joey Tata
Joey Todd? Yeah, I gotta
played
I
Nat.
gotta ask you something about that. But Stuart Carson, what's his
David
name?
Gale. I mean,
Yeah.
that's another young guy.
Mhm.
And we liked him. We had him on our podcast. He's a terrific guy. That was a great storyline. I had a lot of fun with David. And I don't know, he lived in France. He had a young child, and all of a sudden, I don't know,
Yeah.
it was a couple of medication things happened to him, and he had some symptoms. I don't know. I don't think it was an overdose, but it
Mhm.
was something weird, and he just
Ah,
passed away. It was really sad.
yeah, I when I saw that one, it's like it shocked you for a minute because you're like, really? One
I
thing I was
know.
going to ask you though, which I found kind of ironic. Milton Berle was in one of the episodes,
Mhm.
and they're in the Peach Pit, and Nat is talking to him. And then I was telling my daughter, I'm like, wow, this is so like I felt like weird at the time because Nat, Joe Tata, later in life developed Alzheimer's, and I believe that's what Milton Berle was suffering from in the show. So it was
Yeah,
kind of weird to me. Like,
yeah, it was.
mm,
We wanted to give a good storyline to Ian Ziering, and we came up with that. Putting him with a star like Milton Berle, and a guy who he has to do his community service after the fire, which he's responsible for.
mhm,
And Milton Berle, yeah, he was fantastic on the set, just regaling everyone with stories, and he got an Emmy nomination for it. We didn't win, but he did get an Emmy nomination for it. And it's a really excellent episode. I haven't seen it in a while. We were talking about doing something on it. We haven't really seen it because that episode particularly was close to Jessica Klein, who was one of our writer producers who also died 2 years
mm,
ago, and her husband was the guy who drowned. They were a writing team, so they were an important part of the show, especially season 2 and 3, and especially with the Triangle, which they had come from soap operas and they had brought that to Chuck.
mhm.
But yeah, so we did the Milton Berle thing, and again, we try. With 32 episodes, you had a chance to do all kinds of episodes, and some we just did for ourselves. We have, a couple of those high concept episodes, the '60s episode where they
Yeah,
kind of
yeah,
Brenda reads the diary, and we trip out into this thing, or the Dylan go past life therapy ends up in the West.
mhm.
We did a couple of things like that, which we really enjoyed ourselves, and hopefully the fans did too.
Yeah. I got to tell you on my page because I got like 10,000 followers on this page, and I'm getting so many comments. I'm just scrolling through, and
Beautiful.
when I got to that episode, the '60s episode, a lot of people appreciated that episode. I'm like, because I actually forgot about it because I stopped watching it for a number of years. Once I got my daughter hooked, it was done. And then I came back to it and I'm like, I forgot about this episode. And it was a nice episode to watch.
Yeah, it was, again, fun. Gave the character, again, with doing 32, you want to keep everyone interested and excited, and they got a chance to do something a little bit out of the ordinary for themselves. And look, we were all, our staff was pretty old. There was nobody young on our staff, so we had all experienced the '60s. So it was fun for us to write it and have some of those thoughts in there, and be able to use it to further Brenda's story because she was coming off a kind of a being disciplined for getting involved in the animal rights thing. She got kind of
Mm.
suckered and duped into this thing, and she was, basically everyone else had gone away for a ski trip, and I think she was being punished.
Yeah.
So we had this episode, kind of a little bit of a fantasy, and it was just good. It was very complete in its own. It was what we call the standalone episode because it didn't
Okay.
really draw a lot of story with it.
Yeah. I think there's probably a few of those too. What,
Yes,
one,
we did.
yeah. One thing I want to now go back to is the kissing scenes because I thought I heard something. So, did the kissing scenes come natural to the actors? Because I remember, you know what was crazy,
You
though,
know,
Larry? One scene in Christmas time, Dylan kissed three of the actors, right? He kissed Brenda at the Walsh house. Then he went to see Donna and Kelly, and he kissed Donna because the mistletoe, and then he kissed Kelly, and I'm like, holy cow! But the kissing scenes are crazy.
Yeah, well, again, like I said, kissing is good. We, because it was the show, you wanted to have like this kind of a romantic feel to it
Hmm.
without worrying about people hopping in bed. We didn't really worry about that so much. We really wanted to have what led to that, which was kissing and again, slow playing the story, slow the story down. And so, yeah, that was always very important to us. And for the actors, again, this is before there was intimacy coordinators, and now it's very controlled when you have to kiss someone. There's someone on set there. What angle you're going to be at? Then it was kind of look, actresses. It was the Wild West. You just kind of threw yourself into it. You excited to do it, and some people I know they would warn the other actors beforehand, don't be giving me any tongue. I'm going to be, but otherwise they'd just go at it. Now there'd be people, Luke and Brent and Shannon, were feuding certainly in the season 4. They didn't really get along, but boy, when they got together, they would kiss. I mean, there was so much electricity between that kiss between them. I always liked that one. And other things happen, which I would call the kissing problem. Sometimes it'd be a guest star, and maybe we'd write like we have like a 10 episode order for them,
Hmm.
and we're gonna develop their character. And all of a sudden, about episode three, we get a call from one of the or Mr. Spelling. No, we got to get rid of the guy. They don't want
What?
to. They don't, actress doesn't want to work with him anymore, and we would call it the kissing problem.
Oh my God. You give me the
So
inside scoop.
I can think of two distinct characters that happened to, and they we just had to toss our stories away, write the character out, and move on. We just didn't work on a. It's just how it was. Just a kissing problem, and you just can't go on because we don't want our stars to be uncomfortable.
I guess you can't let me know which actor.
Well, yeah, I mean, because actually, one of the people who Jennie Garth got fired, an actor named God, I wish I remember his name now. Dylan. He played the character Mark Reese in season 7, and so that one.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think we had a whole season of his stuff planned, and we had to can him. And then the other one was a young actor named Jason Lewis,
Hmm.
who played a young actor come to town. He had been a jeans model, a gorgeous looking guy who had great success in Sex and the City, playing the exact same part.
Man.
Played Smith Jones on Sex and the City, but our Tiffany Amber Thiessen, there was a kissing problem, and was not going to work with him anymore. So that was it for him. So those two, I'm sure there might have been one more, but those two certainly jumped to mind.
Wow.
I think
Yeah.
Dylan Neal, maybe his name was Mark, the guy who played Mark Reese. But I know he just was on the OMG podcast with Jennie and Tori, and Jennie apologized to him, which I thought was great.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. I saw, yeah,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
saw that. Yeah. I'm trying to
yeah.
picture his face again, but I know what you're talking about. But as a writer, how is it to pivot though? Like there's some like soap operas. My parents got me addicted to Young and the Restless when I was a kid. And a lot of us watch soap operas the days of our lives and everything. But I forgot if there's any shows like that. But if someone passes away, like you're saying the kissing problem, but if someone
Yeah.
passes away, how hard is it or easy is it for a writer to pivot to get that person out of the show
You
or
know,
right?
you just, you're a professional. So you're just going to say, forget it. There's no point in looking backwards. You just go forward. Again, we were doing 32 a year, so there was really no time to kind of digest it or complain about it. You just got to go find new things. Just write something different, find new people. And that's what we did. We were good at that. We had to pivot all the time because Mr. Spelling, he had his likes and dislikes. And, you know, look at Deshaun Hardell, okay?
Yeah.
Cress Williams, who played Deshaun Hardell. We really had big plans for him and Donna.
Yeah.
And that was a real kissing problem for Mr. Spelling.
Oh, oh, really?
He didn't like the black white thing, and so
Oh, he didn't
we had
like
to
it at
down.
that for that time. He didn't like that.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
he didn't. So we had to change that whole thing. We loved Cress and we loved what was going on with those characters, and we had to change that and just move on. But that's what happened.
Hmm.
But as a professional writer like that, it's again, TV is a manufacturing process. It's not really a creative, and it's creative, but you're working in a template. So basically, you just continue into the template.
Yeah.
It's different than say, like I'm a novelist now. It's much different, which is much more free form, and I can do what I want.
Yeah. You know what? You answered. I had three specific actors, actresses that I was going to ask you about because people love them so much, but you did kind of answer it without me even leading into it. But you talked about Shannon, you talked about Luke, and I was going to ask you about how was it working with Tori Spelling because her dad is Aaron Spelling, and you just gave me one
Tori
incident.
Spelling is a definition of a trooper.
Hmm.
She loved the show. After 4 or 5 years, the actors got really tired of it, but not Tori. She'd come in and pick up the new script, be just as excited as ever. Great attitude, great work ethic. We discovered this whole comedy side of her, and it was wonderful. What was interesting was, when we would pitch stories to Mr. Spelling for the season, we would always start with Donna's stories because that's all he cared about.
Yeah.
And it was very important to him to keep her a virgin. And in a way, it was kind of endearing. Like he couldn't control his real daughter, who was out there clubbing and having fun every freaking night.
Yeah.
But Donna, he could control. So we
Hmm.
kept her a virgin for 7 seasons. I got to write her losing her virginity, which that was the last episode I wrote. It was almost like the workers in the pyramids. I had to be like buried underneath after that. That was it for me. They
Hmm.
showed me the door because I got let go after that.
Oh, okay.
Um, and but it was always very endearing because he loved his daughter and he loved seeing her stardom build because she was really a secondary character when it started. But
Mhm.
through sheer determination and skill and being around show business, she knew how to develop a character and got really great. She's a wonderful gal today, just terrific.
Tori, I really appreciate that. They're out there doing their thing, and they
Oh yeah, I
appreciate.
mean everybody now,
Mhm.
for a long time, you have to understand when the show finished, it was not a good credit. I
Mhm.
couldn't get a job.
Wow.
It was a bad show.
Hmm.
That's what people thought. It took like 10, 15 years for people to realize, oh my God, this is a really great, iconic show. And the actors and actors felt the same way. After they came out, it was like a curse, the spelling curse. We were on a spelling show. And
Wow.
so no one liked the show. And it took a guy in Canada named Darren Martin in New Brunswick to put the cast back together. He had had a kidney transplant, and he had watched the show, and it meant so much to him that he sought out the character, the actual actors, and wound up linking them back together and
Mhm.
finding the love for the show again. And then the pandemic happened, and we started the podcast, and everyone got together and realized this is the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
We should really celebrate this show. We don't have to
Yeah.
be ashamed of it. We can celebrate the show.
Yeah.
And that was great. That was liberating. So the characters now, they're going to every Comic Con
Yep.
convention.
Mhm.
They love the show. So it really shows you in time how it changed. But like I said, when I got out of the show, it was like a curse. I go to try to get a new show. And I go, oh God, I wish you had been on a good show. I know you're a good writer, but that's not a very good credit.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wow.
never worked for Fox again.
Wow. I hear that sometimes. Either actors they get typecast or they
Yeah,
can't get it.
they got typecast and they hated the show for that reason. They all did, but now they all love it. Yeah, Ian calls it the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Sometimes it takes time for those things, right? There's some movies like that too, where
Oh
people are
yeah,
like, "Oh, this is." I heard Jaws when Steven Spielberg was making that. It was like all over the place, over budget and all that, and now it's a classic. You know what I mean?
yep. 50 years, 50 years anniversary this summer.
Mhm. One of the last questions, I got a few more questions, but one of the last ones was some people like to know about personal experiences. So, yes, we're involved with the characters on the show, but do you have any personal experiences to share with Jason, fellow Canadian, Jason Priestley, Luke? Um,
You know, when I entered Hollywood in '78
yeah.
as a writer, I was given three rules:
Mhm.
never go to the set, never talk to the actors, and try not to put your name on any script, and you'll be a successful writer in Hollywood. So I never went to the set. I never talked to the actors, and that even now people go. But so I never really built up any relationship with the actors. I mean,
Oh.
other than now, I mean, Jason, we're all close, and we all correspond and support each other, whatever we're doing. But
Mhm.
during the show, I stayed away. Our office was on the other side of the hill from the production facility. And we had a wonderful producer named Paul Wagner, who's passed on,
Okay.
who basically took care of the cast. So we didn't have to. We had to concentrate just on the words. And we
Okay.
go in there and, work out problems with them. And certainly I got to work with Luke a lot, going over lines and stuff and storylines and Jason too, because Jason was a director. So we worked very closely. And I guess I should say about Jason, he really as an actor was the leader of
Mhm.
the cast
Yeah.
and also became a director, and a really good director. And he was really thoughtful and it was a pleasure working with him. We did some great stuff together. And unfortunately, as he knows now, he's the one who basically took my job. He wanted my job, and so we had the famous story, which was the tipping point, which I'm not going to go into now,
Mhm. Mhm.
but yes, I will. Uh, it was in the final episode of the 2 hour episode, which I was writing with another Canadian, Phil Savith, who's passed on too. But it was the graduation of college, and there's a big party going to be thrown by Kelly's father, like overdone big party,
Mhm.
and we got to have a music act. And I had gotten called by the manager of the Spice Girls. They were going to be in LA. They wanted to be in the show.
Mhm.
And I told Jason, who was directing the episode, I was in Spelling's office and I presented this fantastic news. And Jason said, that's everything that's wrong with the show. No. And that I was dead after that. he wanted the group called the Cardigans,
Hmm.
and they used that against me that I was out of touch with what they really wanted, and basically that was the last episode I wrote. Now Jason, he hardly remembers that this happened this way, but he does acknowledge somewhat that happened, and he feels bad about it. But that's just what happened. Again, people didn't. He wasn't going to come back to the show unless he could be the executive producer. It was a
Hmm.
seventh. It was going to the eighth season. He didn't really want to do any more, but he felt if he ran the show, he would. And then, of course, 2 months after running it, he didn't want to do it anymore. It's too hard.
Yeah, yeah, of
you
course.
know, so
Yeah.
so that was that. But then the show kind of, those are the lost years, 8, 9, and 10. They kind of lost what the show was because people didn't watch the earlier episode. They just kind of went on their own way, and they lost the. We always believed that there was the ethos of the show was that these were ordinary kids living
Hmm.
extraordinary lives.
Hmm.
And after season 7, they reversed it. They were extraordinary kids living ordinary lives. They had a shop, they had a little newspaper,
Yeah.
rather than having big jobs like the way it should have been. But they didn't understand that because they didn't know the show. The people who ran, and it just kind of ran itself out 8, 9, and 10, whatever. We don't
Hmm.
talk about those episodes.
Oh, wow.
Um, and,
So,
and again, that's part of the sourness everyone felt after the show ended that they just been a money grab the last couple of years and no one really respected the show,
mhm,
and it took a good 10, 12, 15 years for the show to really all of a sudden get beloved again by everybody, the cast and the audience and everybody.
yeah. Yo, thanks for sharing that insight. There's a term back in the days, there was a show called Happy Days, and I know you know this term, jump the shark, right?
Yeah.
So some of the fans, followers on my page say, "Oh, this is the season when it jumped the shark. This is the season when it jumped the shark." Do you think in your eyes, in your opinion, it jumped the shark like season 8 then?
I never, I've never seen season 8, 9, or 10.
Oh, oh, you
I've
never
never watched it.
watched it.
I never watched it. No.
Oh.
No,
So you
I've only
stopped.
heard about it. I've only heard about it selecting here and there, stuff. I just never really watched it. No, my
Okay.
heart was broken. My heart was broken. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I lived and died those characters. They had to carry me out of the building.
I understand. I understand. So season 7, you wrote,
Season 7, I wrote the first episode of college. I wrote the last episode of college.
yeah.
128 episodes.
And Donna losing her virginity, that was one of
Yes.
the key ones there.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay, back to last real question was, the show addressed a lot of social issues and a lot of everyday problems people were going through from episode 1 all the way up. People could relate to certain things. You're talking about alcoholism. You're talking about drugs. You're talking about gun violence. You're talking about dealing with death, rape, things like that, abusive relationships. Do you think the show handled it well? And writing
Yeah,
those
I
lines, how
do. I
was
mean,
that?
it's amazing now because we've had our podcast, the Beverly Hills Show podcast with Pete Ferrero, Chuck Rosen, and myself.
Mhm.
And looking back at the episodes, I mean, some of the social conscious episodes we did are so valid today. I mean, it's
I
pretty
know.
amazing. Like 30 years, 35 years later, that they still
Hmm.
have something to say. But yeah, that was really Chuck's doing. Chuck, had a journalistic background and really was a he was a social activist in a lot of ways, a lot more than me. Well, I was more into entertainment, but he really pushed for all those episodes, and they really held up well. We tried to do our best with them, give people an understanding from both sides.
Hmm. I like that. I like how they touched on things. And a lot of it was emotional. Like I just covered the one where Donna almost got raped and she said, "Hey, okay, Dave." Like she said, Dave.
Davy,
That hits
yeah,
hard,
yeah,
that scene. Like, wow. But
yeah.
anyway,
That was
yeah.
good. Love hurts. Yeah, I know that episode. I wrote that episode. Um, yeah, that was good. The actor who played the rapist. I mean, he was arrested in real life.
Are you
So,
serious?
someone called the police on him. They said they thought they had seen
Oh,
him on America's Most Wanted.
oh my God.
I know when you play a villain, like look at poor Jamie Walter. I
Oh,
mean, when
yeah.
you play a
Oh,
villain on the
yeah.
show, the audience sometimes can't divorce the character from the real life. I
I
mean,
know.
when Jamie had a music career, would go out and people would have signs. You heard Donna, it killed him. We
Yeah,
we
this
killed the guy's career. I mean, he's a dear guy. He's a friend of ours, but we really did. We didn't realize the power we had, and because we were gonna. reform him and redeem him. He was a child of abuse himself. We felt it was a real valid storyline. And
Hmm.
unfortunately, because he did it to Donna, that was it for Spelling. Once she had negative publicity, why is she with an abuser? That was it. Ray
Yeah.
had to again. There's another guy we had to write out. We had a whole season. We had promised him $1 million, and which we had to pay him off,
Hmm.
and then we had to get rid of him because Spelling said no, can't have him.
It's so weird how it translates to real life. This happens in wrestling. I got a question about wrestling for you, but it's so weird how, entertainment, it just translates. And yeah, a lot of people are posting that on my page. This ruined his career. This messed up his career.
We,
And
we, we just we were very naive. We didn't understand. We just didn't think it would hurt him. We just again sometimes we believe people had to serve the story.
yeah,
That's we need again. We're doing 32 episodes a year. We need freaking content, and we
yeah.
need content that's going to be really hot 3 times a year for the sweeps episodes in November, February, and May. Those
Hmm.
are the Moneyball episodes where you had to be building up so you're getting the audience. That's how you know you're a success and how much advertising you sell. Because again, we're selling soap.
So Larry, in the beginning, I mentioned that you're on stage when Ray was singing. You came out. You were the roadie, right?
Yes.
Tell me about that storyline.
Well, okay. Fox was sponsoring the Rolling Stones Voodoo Lounge tour. And so Chuck and I said, maybe we can film it and have our characters go to the show. Again, we tried to really show all the great things about LA, always, real LA stuff. And that was one going to the Rose Bowl to see a show it was a real LA experience. And Rolling Stones bought it, Fox bought it. I got to write the episode. And I had always imagined, Ray and Donna were going to go there because Ray was going to work there. He was a blue collar kid. He couldn't afford a ticket, but he was going to work as a vendor there. So I wrote a scene which was during the day, Ray is there and he kind of wanders on stage and tries to imagine what it would be like to play to this audience. And he picks up a guitar and he does his song there. And then the roadie who is going to kick him off because he's using instrument.
Yeah.
So I asked Chuck, could I play the roadie? I had been a roadie for Blood, Sweat, and Tears in
Mhm.
1969. And so yeah, Chuck said sure. So I got to play that part. The other weird thing was in the rehearsal during the day, I was there and I realized I saw one of the road manager for the Rolling Stones, and it was the same guy in 1960. This was 1994. In
Mhm.
1969, he was my road manager for Blood, Sweat, and Tears. I said, "Hey, Larry, it's Larry Mollin." He
Yeah.
went, "Oh man, what band are you with?" I said, "No, I'm executive producer of the show. I'm just doing the part." It was such a great surreal moment. Uh, yeah, so I luckily got to play that part and kick Ray off the stage, and yeah, it was fun. I love that episode. It's and again, that's an episode we filmed the same time we were filming the fire at the rave.
Oh my
I mean, it
God.
just shows you
Yeah.
how big, how brave we were to be able to do that. We filmed at the Rose Bowl because we shot the show and everything. All our cast ends up at the Rolling Stones show,
Mhm.
and it was quite something. I mean, it was a great fun. And the only thing that was bad was it was a sweeps episode show, which we begged Fox not to show it on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving because our audience was traveling from college,
Mhm.
and they didn't. So it really was not the first time around. It was not widely seen, which really pissed me off.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a problem there. But it was a great, again, we took a lot of shots, but that was a big shot for us, and it holds up really well. They got all these great songs of the Stones in there.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty amazing, really.
That was great. That was great. So speaking of people putting themselves in the show, I swear, um, I read Charles Rosen, his wife, is it Karen? Is his
Yeah,
wife Karen? Was
yeah.
she playing Kate?
Yeah,
Ah,
she was in the show as a lesbian.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, because she'd always been an actor, a writer. And Chuck, look, he's a good husband. He's gonna make room for her whenever he could. And yeah, so she played in a couple of shows, playing Kate during that kind of a lesbian plot line we have, where
Dana,
Kelly
right?
Taylor meets the
Yeah.
girl.
Yep.
Can't remember her name now. Allison in the
Allison. Yep.
fire. She kind of shares the bed, and they survive together, and kind of gets drawn into this possible romance with her. And yeah, so we had some fun with Karen doing that, and just again, Chuck. We used to say FOC, friend of Chuck's.
Yeah.
It was Chuck was always very good because Chuck went to Beverly Hills High. He was a Beverly Hills guy. He grew up in L.A., and so he had a billion friends. and
Hmm.
they were always showing up in the shows. Well, which part of the camera? Any part of the camera.
Oh, amazing. Okay, the last two questions I have. One, two from it's from a fan, follower of mine. Um, why the group always dated within their circle? She wanted to know. Jennifer wanted to know. It's always seems like they went to this person, that person.
Pretty simple. The shows that were best was when we could vertically integrate the characters.
Hmm.
Let put them together, challenge the relationships between the group. And yeah, we could have outside people, but it was always still fun to explore what it would be like. So yeah, I mean, someone like Kelly Taylor did. She dated Dylan. She dated Brandon. She kind of sort of dated Steve Sanders.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was always that. And I'm thinking Brian Austin Green. He had Tori. He had Valerie. I mean, he had Tiffany, or her character Valerie, and he had
Hmm.
Donna. Yeah, I mean, it just made the storytelling better.
Yeah.
Basically, we would bring in guest stars, but we always knew that they were short timers.
Okay.
They were not part of the main group. The
Hmm.
only one who really lasted was Kathleen Robertson, who's a Canadian who played Claire, and she stood around
Yeah.
for a couple of years.
I knew she
And
was
she dated
Canadian.
Brandon,
Yeah.
Steve, and Brian. Yeah, so I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. But yeah, we're interested in vertical integration.
Hmm. Okay. The last question from the fan, Doreen, one of my followers, said, how was it going to WWE from 90210? So I didn't know WWE. What did you do for the company?
I was a writer for SmackDown and Raw.
Are you
I'm part of the
serious?
company, traveling with the company in 2005. I got recruited there because when you think about it, Peter,
Hmm.
it's like a soap opera. And it
Yeah.
runs from WrestleMania to WrestleMania, where you build up the characters, and then, like Sweeps Week, you'd have the pay-per-views where the storylines had to build for the pay-per-views to put people in the seats. So I got recruited by corporate WWE. They had taken over from Vince a little bit because Vince had lost all the money in the XFL.
Hmm.
And they wanted to go to Hollywood and upgrade the product. So I got hired, and a couple of other directors and one other writer, I think, from Hollywood. They paid us a good amount of money, more than the other guys were getting, that's for sure, like a lot more.
Hmm.
And we moved to Stamford, Connecticut for the season. And because theater was my background, I thought, oh, this is gonna be great. It's the biggest theater in the world. I didn't realize that there are only two characters in wrestling. There's a baby face and there's a heel, and
Okay.
there's nothing in between. There's very strict rules. The baby face gets cheers, he gets pops, the heel gets boo pops. The heel can never get pops. He has to get boo pops. I mean, so it was very difficult for me, but I did my best. I wrote
Hmm.
some good stuff. I got to write for Hulk Hogan. I got to write for some great people, made some
Hmm.
great friends, but I was not a lifer. I mean, it was so strange to me. I
Hmm.
mean, being on tour, it was like being on rock and roll because you travel in limousines and private jets, and there'd be fans waiting, and it was crazy. We did like 4 hours of live television a week.
Wow.
But there was no day off. The day off
Oh
was the
my
flight home
God.
on Wednesday, and then we start work again on Thursday for the Monday and Tuesday shows. And 52 weeks a year, there's no weeks off.
That is
So it
grueling.
was pretty grueling, but that's what they did. They're barnstormers. I always just say I describe them as billionaire carnies
Yeah.
because they would talk about the audience as the marks.
Yeah.
Oh, we got the marks out there and the smarks, the smart marks, and and so it was different. I mean, but it was an education.
Hmm.
But ultimately, the people really in power there, namely Stephanie and Vince and everybody, didn't want us to work out because we had been forced on them by corporate.
Yeah.
So in a lot of ways, we got hazed. I would do something great, and then next week I would have nothing. Like I'd
Yeah.
fly to frickin' Edmonton, and I just sit there. They said,
Hmm.
"No, what? You have nothing to do. Just go sit with Vince." So
Wow.
it was like a love hate thing, but I got to do it. I got to experience it. It was great, great memories of it. The nightmare stopped shortly afterwards.
Hmm.
But but yeah, it was an interesting experience, and I still have lots of friends from that world,
Yeah. A lot of time from the
and a
family
lot of
though.
respect for the performers.
Oh, you must have, yeah. But a lot of time from the family, away from the family though. That's
Yes, I
whew.
was I was living in Stamford, Connecticut. Yeah,
Yeah.
but it was just what I had to do. I mean, I produced chefs also around the world where I was away, but a lot of Canadians were in the WWE. We had Edge, we had Chris Jericho, Trish Stratus,
Trish Stratus, yeah.
a lot of Canadians.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Okay, one more question about Beverly Hills, and then I got to tell you, at the end of Real Talk with Star Scorpio, I always hold up two cards,
Right.
and you're gonna ask me which one you want me to read, Blue Jays or the
Okay.
Raptors. But first, I need to know, were there any? I know you said you didn't like socialize with the actors, but I swear I heard a story, and I think it was told by Jennie Garth. I want to know if there's any comedians on the show because I heard that Luke Perry ate some garlic before that kissing scene in a pool when he chooses Kelly over Brenda because Brenda couldn't go to the Bellage or whatever, and then he did it on purpose. Were there because Ian Ziering seems like a comic. Like these guys seem funny. Do you have
Well,
anything to share about that?
I don't, but I
Uh-huh.
can see that happening from Luke's point of view. He wanted to stir some shit, and he
Yeah.
thought it would be funny. He thought it would be funny.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see that. Jason did look. I mean, now stuff comes out that that when we would have like fake drinking, but they really were drinking,
Oh
which
yeah.
I thought was yeah, like in the 2 hour in the comic episode. Yeah, they were really drinking, which I found really interesting.
Yo, I just covered that episode and I seen you commented on that picture where Brandon was playing what was David's friend's name with the helicopter hat on or whatever. What was that again? You know the episode where they're drinking and they're doing the film, the storyline of
But oh, I don't know what happened. 1 second, I can't hear
Oh, you can't hear
you.
me?
Okay, yeah, I can now.
You can hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on, hold on. I'm gonna get that episode quick. You know the episode I'm talking about where they filmed it and they were drinking the spiked watermelon?
Oh, yes, Unreal World. Yeah,
Unreal World, yes.
yeah.
So
Oh,
I
yeah.
gotta
You're talking about yeah. Jason and yeah, and yeah, the guy playing I forget what the character was. I wrote that episode too. Yeah, that's really good. I forgot the episode. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that was
great. And I don't think they were really drinking that episode.
oh, you're talking about a different one. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
different one. Yeah, but
Mm,
yeah, they were. I'm talking about the final college episode.
okay. See,
Yeah.
I forgot. I haven't got there yet, so I can't
Oh
remember.
yeah. It's really good.
Hmm.
It's big. It's really a big episode. But yeah, that Unreal World. Yeah, yeah, that came out of my youth because we used to do that in high school. We used to
Yeah,
go
yeah.
to the beach, and fill a vodka with a pour it into a watermelon and just go at it.
You know,
Yeah.
I just found it funny though how the characters seem so real when they were playing the parts. Like my daughter and I, my wife, we laugh at that scene all the time, and I couldn't wait to post it on IG. Like Kelly, Kelly and Brandon especially. Later,
Oh yeah.
geez.
That it's really fun because again, that was an episode where they get to play other people. They're kind of doing this takeoff of of real world basically.
Hmm.
And yeah, Jason's hilarious in that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah, this it's quite fun that one. Yeah, and it moves some story points because I think it ends the David Claire relationship and
yeah,
goes back to Donna again, which we're rolling toward for the next season.
yeah. And you know what's crazy though? That breakup didn't last long because I just covered Bloody Rue at the Peaceful After Dark, and then Claire's like kissing him again at the end. I'm like, oh, they're back again.
Bloody Roo, I forgot I'm coming up with that thing. That was just hilarious. Yeah, we had some fun with that. Yeah, there's no
Amazing.
doubt.
Amazing. Okay, the last thing you're gonna do before I pop the balloons, because I'm gonna donate to a charity. Larry, this has been a great episode. Now I want you to choose which one you want me to read out. This is the Star
Well, it's got to be the
Scorpio
Blue Jays. Blue Jays.
Jays. What is one of the most memorable moments of your life?
Hmm, wow. I guess meeting my wife. We met hitchhiking.
Oh, share a
I
little bit
got
about that quick.
It was 1969. I was in Martha's Vineyard. I was hitchhiking, and I got in the back seat of a car, and there she was. And she had been hitchhiking too. It was totally random, and we've been together since then. 69. It's a long time.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And what's your wife's name?
D.
D. Amazing. D. Okay, the last thing we're gonna do, Larry. I'm gonna donate to a charity today. So, Larry,
Good.
this is what you're gonna do. My left hand, balloon
Mhm.
1, 2, and then right hand 3, 4. Which one do you want me to pop?
Two.
right? Episode 99, Star Scorpio with Larry Mollin. We'll be donating to. Oh, anytime I put it up, it doesn't show, but there's the four little boys. The Fundraiser Warriors.
Good.
All right.
Congratulations.
Yes. Larry, let the people know where they can find you. You got to tell me what your IG name means, though. You got to tell me how you came up with that.
A Mambo Chicken?
Yeah, your handle, and then let the people know where they can find you before we.
Okay. Okay. On Instagram at Mambo Chicken. I'm on X at Mambo Chicken. And they can find me at LarryMollin.com because I've become a novelist since then. There's a really great young adult novel I just had, Poor Guy's Kid, which is a sequel to that's coming out this summer, Crushing Cabo. But yeah, go to the website, LarryMollin.com. Mambo Chicken, okay. In the South in the 60s, if you went to a supermarket at the checkout line, you might see the Mambo chicken. And the Mambo chicken was a real chicken that would be kind of encased in like a plastic thing. You put a quarter in there, and a hot plate would light up, and Mambo music, and the chicken would pick up his legs and dance. It was called the Mambo chicken. Also the Cha-Cha chicken. I saw it twice.
Yeah.
And so it always made an impression on me, the Mambo chicken.
Yeah.
And then when we used to tour in Canada in the 70s, like I said, we were touring all over the country. We had a couple of vans and we got into the CB craze. And that was my handle. Mambo Chicken was, hey, you got the Mambo Chicken, what you 20, doing all that CB stuff. And so it just became my other name, Mambo Chicken. I just kind of kept it.
Thanks for sharing. Now I know. Now I know.
Mambo Chicken, right. It's needless to say that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, yeah. All right, Larry, this has been great. This is episode 99, Real Talk with Star Scorpio, and we out.